I'll be honest, I used to really resent how much attention the media and everybody gave to Mercury retrogrades. I was like, they happen 3 to 4 times a year. Like, they are not the end all be all of astrology. Far from it. And I still believe that. They are super common. They're obviously necessary. They're obviously not the biggest deal in the astrological world because they're so common. But as I've grown older, not necessarily wiser, but just had more time to observe things, I gotta say that every Mercury retrograde feels like it is such a profound ass kicking for me. And maybe I'm just in a moment, but I have a much deeper respect for this transit than I ever did. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's not incredibly powerful and potent and worthy of my respect, maybe yours. Hello and welcome. This is the Astrology of the Week Ahead podcast, and I'm your host, Chani Nicholas. And obviously, this week, Mercury stations retrograde. I will say, though, this Mercury retrograde looks like it's going to give us some really innovative tips and tricks to deal with the things that break down. You know, Mercury retrograde loves to be like, hey, this is about to break. You might want to, oh, too late, it's broken. And then you're like, oh, wow, great. I didn't know that this thing was wobbly, let alone about to break. But here we are. So this Mercury retrograde is happening fully in Capricorn. Capricorn loves a structure, loves a rule, loves to know how things are supposed to go, loves to make a list, loves to break down a goal into little bite-sized activities and moments. So this Mercury retrograde is going to pinpoint what part of the structure is not fully set up in a way that can withhold the test of time or pressure or what have you. And it's also going to give us some pretty great insights as to how to fix things, which is really lovely. Like, if we work with the Mercury retrograde, it's going to make us better for having gone through it and for having learned its lessons. That I know for sure. I'm never happy to learn the lesson that Mercury retrograde serves, or certainly has been serving these past couple of years, but I never have to learn it again. Because if you really go through the process, you'll be like, well, I don't want to do that again. So I'm definitely going to make sure that this lesson that I learned is put into practice and put into the systems in my life so that I can see it coming. I can be aware of it coming a mile away. And if you go into this Mercury retrograde with that kind of frame of mind, it can be helpful, even if not that fun. And, you know, we're getting a Mercury retrograde at the closing of a year and the beginning of a next year. So it's a great time to turn inward. It's a great time to do less forward momentum. It's a really good time to review, to edit, to sort, and to put into different categories and to file, you know, metaphorically or literally. Now, the interesting thing about Mercury as it's stationing retrograde this time around is that it's doing so in a conjunction right next to Venus, the planet of love and connection and pleasure and beauty and art. So as Mercury is pivoting, as it is about to start this deep reflection process, it's colored by Venus. It's colored by the planet of beauty, connection, desire, and also what we value. So that is woven into the texture, at least of this week's Mercury retrograde, quite deeply. Next week, there'll be something really innovative that's woven into the texture of Mercury's retrograde. But this week specifically wants us to peel back the onion layers of our heart's desire and of our intimacy issues, of our relationship dynamics. Because not only does Mercury and Venus make a conjunction as Mercury is pivoting, really pulling focus. And again, Mercury is like a microphone. It taps into whatever it touches. So when it's amplifying Venusian messages, it's amplifying messages of love and connection and desire and beauty and art and pleasure. But also, Venus is about to make a conjunction with Pluto. Venus makes that conjunction with Pluto this weekend on Saturday, the 31st of December. And a Venus-Pluto conjunction is one that is quite intense and one that is very revealing in regards to our heart's desires and our relationships and our relationship issues and the transformative nature of our relationships. If we have good relationship containers, we're able to do some of the most profound work of our life. We get to understand what our attachment styles are. We get to understand what the attachment styles are of the people that we love and that we're committed to. We get to understand all versions of what you might call a love language. And because Mercury is stationing retrograde with Venus, there is something about love and its languages, its many languages, that we're learning about this week. So I don't know how that bodes for New Year's Eve and partying and enjoying. It feels like it's a quite intense energy for that night. So it might feel a little extra, whatever that means. Pluto really tends to intensify things and make them into something that has a lot of depth and definitely takes us through a process. So you might have a really interesting night in terms of where you go internally, externally. It does feel like a little bit of an underworld journey. It feels like a very transformative moment. So you might feel like doing something that has that kind of ability to match that energy that is satisfying in some way. It's a really good time, I think, to spend with the people that you feel an intense love for, or at least commitment to. And the work you can do together, if you so choose, in terms of like thinking about intentions that you might set or the things that you're really wanting to call in for the year. If you didn't do that last week with the solstice, you might be doing that this week with the turning of the calendar. And it definitely seems like this mark for that night of that turning of the calendar is like very real. You want something that it can get its hands on, because Venus is in Capricorn right now. Obviously, Pluto is too. And Capricorn loves to understand the structure, the reality, the heft, and the weight of something. And when it's about Venus and about Pluto, it's about the heft of our love. It's about the weight of our union. It's about how it can become that cauldron for all kinds of alchemical work that we need to do. Of course, I want you to party and have fun. Like, I'm not saying you need to go do some big emotional thing, but going out and partying and having fun might feel a little like deeper than it generally would or you'd want. And maybe that will be the fun of it, that it'll be some kind of cathartic type of event. All right, y'all, those are the major notes of the week. Mercury stationing retrograde in a conjunction with Venus, and also Venus and Pluto making a conjunction. I just want to say that before and after Mercury stations retrograde, Venus and Neptune make a sextile, and then Mercury and Neptune make a sextile. So it does feel like the week is also infused with some really lovely, dreamy, and poetic kind of energy. It does feel like a cute moment for a little bit of an escape. Just don't go too far, because Mercury is retrograding through the structures of your life and is going to definitely, in a Saturn-ruled sign, point out where the flaws are, what you missed, what you got wrong on the test, etc. So remember, we now have Mars and Mercury retrograde. Mars is in Mercury's sign and Mercury is retrograde. So it's kind of like staying at somebody's house that isn't there and you can't get a hold of them. So you don't know how to like turn the lights on or the heat on or the air conditioning on or whatever. You don't know where the food is because they're nowhere to be found. So it's really good to go slow, to start the year out with a pause and a deep reflection. Thank you all so much for leaving reviews in the App Store of the Chani app. We appreciate it so much. I wanted to share one with you. It's called Deepening. I turn to the content in this app daily for affirmation, inspiration, and encouragement to live authentically. The Week Ahead podcast got me hooked, and now, as a subscriber, I eagerly anticipate my rising sign reading each Sunday too. I love the guided meditations, and all the graphics throughout the app are so fun and cute and thoughtfully composed. App subscription also earns you access to transit readings specific to your chart, which is really cool, deep stuff. I highly recommend Chani for anyone interested in deepening their relationship to body, mind, and spirit. Many thanks to all whose efforts contribute to this generous offering. All right, y'all. That is the reading for the week. I hope it's helpful. I hope you have a very deep and rewarding Mercury retrograde. I hope I do too. I am praying for all of us. We'll see you on the other side, but I'll also see you next week. Bye for now.